Want to know why top companies choose different Azure DevOps workflows and how that impacts your career as a data engineer or a DevOps engineer? In this video, you will understand the real difference between basic Agile, Scrum, and CMMI processes and discover which one is actually used in real-world projects. So stay till the end, you will see how these choices shape enterprise development. If you are in IT and still stuck in the same salary, not getting enough interview calls, listen carefully. Right now, there are two types of people. Those who keep waiting and those who upgrade their skills and move into high-paying roles, earning 15 to 45 plus LPA because the market has already shifted. Cloud, data, AI, DevOps. These are the roles driving real career growth today. At Coding Superstars, we have helped thousands of professionals move into top tech roles.
I got placed in IBEX Labs. Previously, my package was 8 lakhs. Now it is around 14 lakhs. Thanks for the Coding Superstar for the guidance, and the course is very worth it.
I have accepted a position as a DevOps engineer at NTI Mindtree. The skills which were taught by Coding Superstar were directly applicable to the role, and I'm confident that they will be essential for my success.
Recognized by Silicon India as one of the top 10 cloud computing training firms in India. People who once had zero coding experience are now working in top companies like Microsoft, Accenture, TCS, Infosys, and more. This is not just another course. This is your path to becoming industry ready. So watch this till the end.
We'll continue from the last class. So we were discussing about Azure DevOps organization settings. So we'll go to the portal, go to Azure DevOps services and Azure DevOps organization. Choose your organization. Your default directory account. And this is our organization here. So this is our organization. These are our projects. We were discussing about organization settings. We have seen what is there in the overview. We discussed about projects, the users, billing, notifications, then usage, extensions, marketplace. All this we discussed in the last class. And then how to connect to your Enter ID, basically the default directory. Risk and coverage. So basically, when we talk about security of code, security of pipelines, then we have we have risk and coverage. Like for example, there are different tools you can say or services which works for code coverage. Code coverage means they are checking the vulnerabilities in the code actually. Okay. Are there any vulnerabilities in the code? So for that purpose, we use code coverage tools. Okay. Is there any risk involved? Okay. What are the, you can say, what are the points using which we can remediate those risks? So this is about security overview. As of now, we have a very new project and there's nothing, we have not used any kind of code coverage tool as of now. So you are seeing it here. Okay. So you can have the documentations, like if you click on documentation, it will take you to the documentation page of Azure where they will talk about the security overview of what are the points on which we can cover the security, the code coverage, the risk and compliance and all. Okay. Then comes about the policies. Okay. So if you see the policies here, so you might be seeing the toggle buttons over here. For example, application connection policies. For example, you are deploying something And for that purpose, you are connecting to a third party application. So if you allow that in your policy, then you will be able to connect any third party application via OAuth. Okay, via OAuth. Second is SSH authentication. Secured shell means you are using any kind of secured shell from the command line, you are authenticating. So if this button is toggled off or disabled, then you will not be able to perform that. So it is like default that these two should be always enabled. Otherwise, you will not be able to authenticate any third application from your pipelines, okay, from your project. Then comes security policies. Like you want to log all the kind of audit events. So you can toggle it off. By default, it is off, but this totally depends on the organization selection. Okay, if they want, they can toggle it on. Allow public projects. Do you want in your organization public projects to be created? If yes, you can toggle it on. Okay, by default, it is toggled off. Okay, by default, it is toggled off. Now, since we are learning, I have toggled it on earlier that yes, we can allow the public projects. Means whatever project you will create, visibility of that project should be private or public. Depends on that. Private projects will not be accessed by everyone. Public projects will be accessed by everyone in the public domain. Okay. So by default, this will be toggled off in your organization. Okay. And whenever you will be working in your organization, mostly projects will be private only. Okay. They will not be public. Additional protections when using public packages. Means whenever you build your code, so developer uses packages, the dependencies. For example, if he is working on .NET, then he will be using NuGet packages. If he is developing on Node, then he might be using NPM packages. Okay, so these all are packages or the dependencies which are in the public domain, like packages in the public repositories. So what it is saying, additional protection when you are fetching down those repositories, so there should be an additional security protection. So always toggled in on by default. Enable IP conditional access policy validation. So if you want IP conditional access, internet protocol, means if you are logging in through any IP, if anyone is logging in through any kind of IP, you are using some kind of system. For example, your system might be using any kind of VPN, and that VPN is a public facing IP. You are logging in through that. Then if you enable this, so enable IP conditional access. So it will ask for a conditional access. Oh, you are coming from this IP or this network. Okay. So if you enable this on, it will check for the conditional access. User policies, external guest access. Do you want to allow the external guest users? Who are the external guest users? I explained in the fundamental part in the AD, Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. There are two types of users, internal users and external users. Internal users are those who are using their own IDP, means Microsoft IDP, identity provider. They are a part of your organization. Who are external users? Basically the vendors, the stakeholders, right? Those are external users. They are coming using their own IDP, Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo. Okay. So if you are adding them as a guest user, you are inviting them. So are they able to access the Azure DevOps organization? Depends on the policy. Okay. Allow team and project administrators to invite new users. Means whosoever your team member, DevOps team member, allow team and project administrators. Who are the project administrators? Allow them to invite the new users. Then request access. Means if anywhere you have not, like you have no access over there. Okay. So you can whatever the URL may be there, you can able to request the access, okay, within the organization. So request access option is there. Then privacy policies allow Microsoft to collect feedback from the users, okay. So generally when you use something, some or the other services, generally there is an option to provide the feedback to the Microsoft. You can provide that, okay. So these are by default policies which are toggled on mostly, okay. Which are toggled off, that purely depends on the organization whether they want to use that or not. Then comes the permissions. So whatever you can see, these are permissions here. Project collection administrator. So these are the permissions and these are the descriptions. Now what you can do, you can create groups, you can add users, and you can assign the policies to the groups. Okay, you can assign the policies to the groups. Now, if you click on any of these, suppose project collection administrator, it will show you what is allowed and what is denied for this permission. Okay, what is allowed and what is denied. Alter trace settings, create new projects allowed, delete team project allowed, edit instance level information allowed, service account, make request on behalf of others not set. Okay, so this you have to set. Where? From the settings. You can set this. Okay, who are the members in this project collection administrators? So by default your name will be there. As you are the individual owner of this Azure DevOps organization, by default your name will be everywhere. Okay, so this is the one. Then what other permissions you are in a member? Okay, so also project collection valid users. Then comes the settings here. Okay, there are other permissions also. We'll check the description here. Later on, what you guys can do, you can go inside those permissions and check what is allowed and what is denied. Okay, so project collection administrator, like member of this application group, can perform all privileged operation on the team project collection. Then project collection build administrator, members of this group should include accounts for people who should be able to administer the build resources, means the resources which are used while creating a build. Okay, project collection build service account, members of this group should include the service accounts used by the build services set up for this project collection. Then project collection proxy service account, this group should only include service accounts used by proxies set up for this team project. So you can set up the proxies as well for the team project. Okay, they can use. Then project collection service account, project collection test service account, project collection valid users. Okay, this application group contains all users and groups that have access to the team project. That is known as valid users. So by default, most of the members will be member of this group, valid users. Okay. Project scope users, security service group. So if anyone is having an explicit permission, that is like he's a part of the security service group. Then comes boards and processes. Now, basically in Azure DevOps, whatever project you create, there are 4 processes actually, using which you can create the project, or you can follow those processes while building the project. So first is basic process, second one is agile process, third one is Scrum process, and fourth one is CMMI. So generally, for example, let's take the basic process. So basic process is kind of a like little flexible. There are less number of work items in the basic process. What are work items? I'll tell you. Okay. So there are less number of work items in the basic process. This process is flexible for any process and great for teams getting started with Azure DevOps. So if you are starting with Azure DevOps, then basic is the great process. Okay. Then comes the Agile. So the template is flexible and will work great for most teams using Agile planning. So if you are following Agile methodology, Agile planning, okay, Agile planning method, then this can work great for you. Okay, Agile process. What is inside that process we will discuss. Okay, Scrum process. This template is for teams who follow the Scrum framework. So if you are following a Scrum framework, like you are having a Scrum calls or all those like Scrum meetings and you follow the Scrum methods, then this is for them. CMMI, this template is for more formal projects requiring a framework for process improvement. Now, your project is based on something like that. You deploy something and you rely totally on the feedbacks and then you improve. Okay, so if you are like improving based on feedbacks, you get the feedbacks, then the requests are being created, then again the developers will work on that request and again they will build new features and again they will deploy that, something kind of this work you are doing, then CMMI is best for you. Most of the projects use CMMI. Okay, most of the projects. Now we'll discuss each of them one by one. Okay, first let's see the difference. So what I'll do, I'll create a new project here. So from here we can create a new project in the organization, new project. So I'll take as demo-project-basic. I'll create a basic process here. You can choose the visibility of the project from here. Okay, public project or private project.
Sir, one question: in real life, the policies and processes that we set up, are they done with request to, by sitting with the client and understanding the requirements and mapping them? How does that happen?
See, mostly yes, most of the things will be discussed with the client only. Okay, then only you will be working according to that.
Okay, we'll have the architects with us and then
Yes.
we'll all be sitting and then deciding.
Yes, all will be documented, whatever you will
Okay.
do. Okay.
Thank you.
Visibility, private or public. So mostly 95% or 99% it will be private only in your organization. Okay. Since if you want to develop anything like public, which you can share in the public domain, then you can create a public project. For example, as of now, we are learning. Okay. We can, if we are like kind of developing, we are learning the development. So we can create a public project and we can ask other people to contribute in this project. Okay. So it can be a public project. But if you talk about the organization, your organizations, projects will always be private only. Then comes the advanced settings here. What type of version control you want to choose for your project? So there are two types of version control, Git and TFVC. Git version control and TFVC version control. I explained both. This is distributed version control. This is centralized version control, team foundation version control. So both are methods for version control, Git method and TFVC method. By default, you will be getting Git. Okay. How you will be getting Git by default? So if you go to organization settings from here and you go to repos, in the repositories, disable creation, this will be toggled on, disable creation of TFVC repositories. By default, this will be toggled on when you create a new organization in Azure DevOps. So when you will be going back and creating a project, choose private here. You will not be able to see TFVC. You will be only able to see Git. So by default, when you will be creating an organization, you will be seeing only Git. Because nowadays people don't follow TFVC. TFVC is the, like you can see, it's an old method of version control. Centralized method and old method of version control. The new one and distributed method is Git. You will be seeing only Git. Now suppose by default you get some client whose code is still running on centralized version control. So generally you get clients for migrating their application and code into the Azure. 70-80% client you will be getting for migration only. That they are running their project in the on-premise, they want to shift the project to Azure. Something like that. Okay. So now it depends on the client whether the client will be agree to migrate the code from Git method to or TFVC method to the Git method. But what if he is not willing to migrate that? He is not having that much of workforce. He's not having those many developers who can work with it, because it's not a simple process to migrate the code from one method to other method. Okay. So for that purpose, they have given in the organization settings, suppose if your client wants that he don't want to switch the method. His code is on TFVC and he wants to migrate the code from their on-premise to Azure, and still he wants to follow TFVC. Then by default, this will be toggled on. You have to toggle it off, since it will not let you create TFVC repositories. So toggle it off. Now you can go back, and if you create a project, you will get that option. So don't get confused when you don't get that option. Okay, because by default you will not be getting that. So basic, private, we will choose Git. Okay, even I have not worked in TFVC. That is too much old. Okay, you will get very less people who worked on TFVC. Work item process. Now here you can choose. So we are using basic, based on basic. So I'll choose basic as of now. Click on create. So this is the basic project. Okay, which will follow the basic process. Now what is the basic process? So if I go to boards, okay, for portfolio management, you can see the work items here. If I press a drop down here, first thing is you find here is Epic. What is Epic? So when you develop something, but you are developing into small modules. Suppose we are developing an e-commerce application, and we are developing that particular application into small modules like login module, product module, cart module, payment module. These are some 4 modules we discussed earlier, right? So Epic is the main module of that project, or you can say a parent item. So suppose I want to develop a login module for my e-commerce application. So it can be created, the work item can be created as an Epic. Epic means that particular module. Inside that you will be creating issue, and inside that you will be creating task. How you will be creating that I'll show when we will perform the practical. Okay, as of now I'm just defining these things. Okay, so Epic, issue and task. These are 3 work items here.
Abhishek, one doubt here. Epic features and then sprint, are they aligned to this?
That's what I'm saying. I'll show you one by one.
Sure. Okay. Got it.
So this is the basic one. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
As of now, just see what I'm showing you. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Epic, issue, and task. Okay. So you will be creating work items under this epic, issue, and task in the basic one. Now go back. I'll just show you another one. Okay. So demo project, and then comes the agile. So this is the agile method. Again, private project, git in the version control. Instead of basic, I'll choose agile here. I'll create a project. So this is the agile. This follows the agile process. If I go to boards again for portfolio management, in the work items, you can see here. So there is a bug, there is an epic, there is a feature, there is an issue, task, test case, user story. You can see the difference between the basic and agile. How much is the difference? Basic one is for mostly learning. Okay, if you are learning as a new part, you can use basic in your projects. So you don't have to follow so much, you can say, process wise, you are very much free while using basic. You have to create a work item, simple, a child item, that's it, and a task. Now, when we talk about agile method here, there is a difference here. So there is an epic, same as basic one. Then inside the epic, if you talk about child item, there we have an issue over there. Okay, you can create a work item as an issue, and then you can directly create a task. Here we have feature. Now what is feature here? Suppose let's talk about like there is a in the e-commerce application, there is a payment module. Now inside the payment module, there are different features. There are different features. What features? Credit card, debit card, UPI. What are these? These are features which will be added in the payment module in the e-commerce application. Debit card, credit card, UPI, pay later. So many features are there. Okay. So epic can be the topmost work item. Under that you can have feature, and under the feature you can have issue now. Now what is happening? Epic is further divided into features, and feature is further divided into issue. Here in the basic process, we are directly dividing the epic into issues and then creating the task. So here is a different issue. Now when you are having issue, and then you will be creating the user story here. What is the user story? So generally when you have a Scrum call, so as a developer, they will be inviting the user story. User story means what user story is. So generally, for example, you want to develop a feature. So that feature, suppose that feature is credit card. Okay, credit card feature you want to develop for the payment module. So generally, Scrum Master, what they will do, they will be inviting the user stories. Now what are user stories? For a credit card feature, what we want is there should be a 16-digit credit card number. Means you have to enter that 16-digit credit card number. This is a user story. Okay. Then what else? You have to enter the name. You have to enter what is the code at the back side of the credit card? CVC, right?
CVV.
CVV. Yes, CVV number. Okay. So you have to enter the CVV. What are these? These are called the user stories. So they will, while developing that feature, they will be inviting the user stories, and based on those user stories will be approved or declined. Approved means this can be integrated as a part of that particular feature, payment feature or credit card feature. Okay. Suppose you should be entering the 16-digit credit card number, then you should be entering the expiry of the card, then you should be entering the CVV number of the card. These are basically user stories, and if they are approved, then they will go for the development. Means task will be created on based on those user stories. These are user stories generally. Then generally there will be test cases. Okay, unit test, functional test, integration test, all those kind of tests they will be creating. This will be totally taken care by the testing team. Okay, so mostly this is not included as a part of DevOps. Okay, they will create. They will be working on that. Means when you work on DevOps, there are different teams. Okay, in the DevOps, front end team, back end team, testing team, operations team. There are different teams which are created for the same project, and they work on their own work items. Okay, similarly the testing team will be there who will be working on the test cases, this work item. Okay, so task, issue, feature, epic, and what is this bug? So generally what will be happening whenever, suppose your application is gone for a testing. Okay, now they will be the testing team, basically the support team or the testing team. What they will do, they will raise bugs. Okay, they will raise bugs. They will be finding the bugs and they will raise a bug. That bug will be assigned. Now whether that bug is a part of the development team or that bug is a part of the operations team, like infra team, whatever it is part of, those bugs will be created by the support or the testing team, and they will be assigned back to the development or whatever concern team is there for that particular bug, and they have to resolve that bug or solve that bug, whatever it is. So that is bug. Okay, so this is another one. Now you can see the difference between Agile and Basic. Let's see the Scrum one as well. Visibility will be the same, version control will be the same. Here I'll choose Scrum. So this is a Scrum project now. Again, I'll go to the boards. Now you can see some similar things here. Some similar things. Okay, with the Agile process. Mostly the same. The names are different. Working is all the same. I'll show you side by side. Okay. So the Agile one, boards. Now you can see the difference. This was the Agile one. There was a bug. In the Scrum, there is a bug here. Then you can see one work item is epic over here. Epic is also here. Then you can see feature. Feature is also here. Here is also feature. Now whatever we call it issue over here in the Agile process, that is impediment. The same thing, same description you copy paste from issue to impediment, same thing. Only the name is different. Okay. Then comes the user story. So what just I explained about the user story, that the same thing is known as product backlog item over here in the Scrum. Product backlog item. So what I defined in the user story, that they will be inviting the user stories, that there will be a 16-digit credit card number. Same things you can take for product backlog item, that is known as product backlog item here. Then task is called the task, test case is called the test case over here. Only the names are different. Every definition, everything is the same. So this is Scrum process. Now, if you again go back, I'll create a duplicate one again. Now CMMI is little bit different. Okay. CMMI. If I go to boards here, if I open the work items, there are many work items here in this. So actually in CMMI, it is driven by you can say a change management process. So many of you don't know what is a change management process actually. So if some of you have worked on Snow tool, anyone working on the Snow tool?
Yeah, I'm working.
Okay. So actually it is a kind of like we follow change management process. For example, suppose we need to modify anything, any in the infra, for example, suppose there is any service or any resource. So we need to modify that, we need to implement something, we need to delete something or decommission something. So we go through a change management process. So whatever changes you need to do in this project, you need to go through a change management process. And that change management process, you have work items here for that. So bug is same. Epic is also same. You see everywhere. Here is also there is an epic and bug here also. Okay. In CMMI also you have epic, feature, issue. Now whatever was called an issue here, that is known as impediment in the Scrum process. And the same thing is known as issue in CMMI as well. But whatever you called a user story in the Agile process and whatever you called product backlog item in the Scrum process, the same thing you are calling as requirement over here. Then task is the same, test case is the same. What are the new things added over here in the change management process? So there is a change request. Which is followed by risk assessment. Means there will be a risk assessment performed on that particular change request. You will create a change request as a part of implementation. Suppose you get a request to implement something. So in the change management process, you have to create a change request. That change request, you have to perform a risk analysis on that change request. What is a risk analysis? Suppose I implement this feature or I change this feature. What will be the impact? What are the risks involved? So there is a risk analysis you have to perform on that change request. Once the risk analysis is performed, that will be reviewed. Whether whatever risk analysis has been performed on this change request is to the point or not, that will be reviewed. Once it is reviewed, then the change request will be implemented. Okay, so this is CMMI process. This is different one from others. Okay, now mostly in projects nowadays we follow CMMI process only. Now if you see the difference in one page, okay, I'll share this link. You can open on your side as well. You can open this link which I just shared. Just 1 minute. Okay, you can see the basic process here. There is an epic, the portfolio backlog, the parent work item, Then you have a child work item, that is an issue, which is known as the product backlog. Means whatever product you are building, okay, so backlog for that. And then the task is created for that product backlog. Simple process in the basic. Now you come to Agile. In the Agile, again, there is an epic as the portfolio backlog, the main module. Inside that you have a feature. Now both of these are coming in the portfolio backlog. Inside that feature, there will be backlog items, okay, user story basically. And based on that user story, there will be a task. This will be the backlog. Now suppose once that task is developed, completed, and the feature is developed, then it might go for the testing team. And testing team, what they will do, they will try to find a bug into that. And if the bug is found, you need to configure, okay, the bug is found, a task will be created in the name of maybe developer or anyone by the testing team as a bug. The work item will be bug, and again a task will be assigned on that particular bug, okay. And then issue and bug tracking. This is a part of issue and bug tracking, okay. So there will be an issue, okay, this is an issue, and based on that issue a bug will be raised, and based on that bug a task will be created, and then developer will be working on that particular task. Maybe the developer or person from the infra team, operations team, all those, okay. This is Agile. Same thing you compare with Scrum now. Epic, feature. Now whatever the user story is here, the same thing is the product backlog item and the task. Here also in the configurable items, there is a bug, there is a task. And whatever in the issue and bug tracking, whatever is known as issue, here it is known as impediment. That is Scrum. These both are very much same, okay. Only the name is different, that's it. And then comes the CMMI process. So in the CMMI process, till here everything is same, except the product backlog item is known as requirement over here. Rest everything is same. But when we talk about any kind of issue and bug tracking, okay, so it is derived through a process. This process is known as change management process. So we need some tools to drive this change management process. Suppose example is ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is a tool actually, okay, we call it as Snow. So what is there? So in issue and change and risk management process, there will be a change created. Then a risk will be performed, risk analysis, that will be reviewed, okay, and once reviewed, this change will be implemented. This is the process for issue and change management. So these are all total 4 types of work item processes which is followed when you work on any project. So now this also mostly depends on, you will be having the documentation, which mostly you will be following either CMMI or Scrum or Agile, okay. That too, in most of them I have seen most of the projects in following CMMI, okay. So these are 4 types of, you can say, work item processes.
Abhishek, I have one question. A CMMI and Agile can be in one project? Is there possibility?
Come again?
CMMI and Agile can be in one project?
But if you create a project, we get only one option. Either we can create the work item process as CMMI or Agile.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we cannot add configuration to Agile, right? For change management?
No, I'll explain that. Actually, what you can do, suppose you want to follow CMMI and Scrum both. Okay.
Okay.
What you can do, you can go to the organization settings here. you can go to the organization settings. In the organization settings, you can go to process. In the process, what do you want? Scrum and CMMI in one.
Yes.
What you can do, you can create an inherited process. What is this inherited process? So inherited process is the one where you can take, where the basic features will all be Scrum. But if you want some more features to add from CMMI, what you can do? You can create your own custom inherited process and you can add the features of CMMI into Scrum. So in this way, you are creating your own custom process. Got it?
Got it. So
Yeah.
because my project be following the change management as well as the Scrum, but it's offline. They are maintaining the Excel for both of them. So
Okay.
that's why I asked the question.
But why they are not shifting to CMMI?
Actually, we don't have any particular tool to use in my organization.
Okay.
So we are
That
playing
can
with
be
Excel.
only approved by the management. If they can ask, your managers can ask that if this is approved or not. So
And we are following the Jira board, not Agile.
Okay. Not Azure boards, right?
Yes.
No issues. You can integrate Jira with Azure DevOps. Okay. In Azure DevOps, we can integrate Jira as well. Okay. So suppose like you want to integrate the Jira here, just go to your organization settings and you want to go and create the go to project here, any project. Suppose we have this project. Go to project settings, go to service connections, click on new service connection. Now what service connection you need? You want to integrate to Jira? Click on here, next. Integrate the service URL for Jira, service connection name, create, and you can save and grant access to the pipelines. Simple. Okay. So you can integrate Jira also with Azure DevOps if you don't want to use the boards.
Okay. Thanks, Abhishek.
So this is all about all processes. Now we'll start from the next class. What we'll do, we'll start doing the practical for process. Okay. So I'll create a process. I'll add the work items one by one and explain you all the work items by adding them. How we can add an epic, how we can add a feature, impediment, everything. Okay. So I'll take one process. I'll take any one. I'll take Scrum. Okay. And then I'll explain that process as a whole. Rest all can be carried out as the same. Okay. So in the next class, I'll explain any one of the process and I'll explain all the features of the work items here. Then we'll go to next repos. We'll learn the Git method. Once we learn the Git method and all, we'll go to pipelines. We'll run the pipelines and then we'll learn the artifacts. Okay. So maybe most probably this month we'll be completing CI/CD and all. Okay. Then next month we'll be learning Kubernetes and Terraform.